This is CBC Here and Now.
Winter storm warnings, the story on the west coast, and plenty of wind to go along with that.
Looks like a happy couple, and then it isn't. Yeah, and that's why I have a big sweater on. It was also to try and hide as much as I could.
3 women say they were abused by their former boyfriend.
And tonight, they're telling their stories.
He went from being fun-loving and doing these things for the rush and the fun to needing, having to do it.
His brother overdosed on fentanyl and he ended up in jail.
Now they're trying to bring attention to how people with addictions are treated.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We'll get to those stories just ahead. But first, the COVID-19 vaccine has arrived in the province.
Well, it's been a day that we've been waiting for since the very start of this pandemic. The first vaccines have landed in Newfoundland and Labrador. Here Now's Peter Cowan joins us live now from our newsroom. So Peter, obviously a lot of anticipation. How's this going to work?
Anthony, you, like probably everyone else, want to see what do these vaccines actually look like, and it's probably a lot smaller of a package, the 2,000 doses that we saw land in Newfoundland and Labrador today. Let's take a look, because this is video that was shot by the government of Newfoundland and Labrador. The media wasn't allowed to be there, but this is the container that arrived by the plane. Most of it's actually insulation and dry ice to keep this thing at minus 70 degrees, but there you go. Those are the actual doses in those 2 boxes. We're told that they're going to start vaccinations midday tomorrow. The doses arrived on this cargo flight this morning, and we know that we're expecting another similar flight to arrive next week. Those doses are going to have to be administered at the Health Sciences Centre in St. John's, where they have those big ultra-cold freezers in order to keep these vaccines frozen. What does that mean? Well, it means the first doses that we're expecting to see tomorrow are going to go to frontline healthcare workers. But what about the question of rural and remote communities? When are they going to start to see vaccines? Well, there's a bit of good news today. Nationally, we know that the Moderna vaccine is expected to be approved this month, and doses are expected to arrive in Newfoundland and Labrador. We don't know exactly how many, but if they do distribute it on a per capita basis, it would work out to about 2,500 more doses. And this vaccine is a lot easier to transport and store, so the health minister has already said that it's likely headed for more rural and remote areas to help the people who are at risk. Anthony?
All right, thank you, Peter. That's our Peter Cowan reporting live. Now, meanwhile, the province is reporting 1 new case of COVID today. The man is in the Eastern Health Region and in his 20s or 30s. He came to the province from Europe for work, and according to Public Health, he is in self-isolation and contract tracing is now underway. Well, since yesterday, 3 people have recovered from the virus, meaning that there are now 20 active cases of COVID-19 in the province.
Well, the RCMP is investigating a sudden death last night in O'Donnell's. A 30-year-old woman was found dead inside a home. Now, police say all sudden deaths are treated as suspicious until proven otherwise. The RCMP says people can expect to see a heavy police presence in the area for the next few days as the investigation continues.
Another person has died in a crash on one of the province's highways, this time near Norris Arm. Police say a 3-vehicle collision happened in this area last night just after 7 p.m. The investigation found that a pickup truck crossed over the center line and into the oncoming path of an oil tanker truck. The collision killed the lone male occupant of the pickup. The oil tanker also sideswiped an oncoming transport truck that was traveling behind the pickup. The 2 drivers of the commercial vehicles were not injured. The roads were wet at the time, and the TCH was impassable for a number of hours while officers conducted their investigation. Now, this is the 4th person to have died in a highway crash in just the past week. 2 people were killed in a 2-vehicle collision Saturday on the TCH near Goobies. A driver died at the scene, and a 15-year-old passenger in a separate vehicle died later in hospital. And on Thursday, a 55-year-old man died after a crash on Veterans Memorial Highway.
Well, taking a look at the temperatures today, it sure was wet in the east. We saw a daytime high near 3 degrees and then significantly cooler as you head towards the west coast and even up through Labrador. Lab City seeing a high near -16 earlier today. So like I said, we saw lots of rain in the east, lots of snow in the west as well. In fact, through central, Gander picked up about 15 centimeters of snow. Now that area of low pressure has moved offshore and is strengthening as we head through the next couple of hours. And we do have a number of warnings in place thanks to that. Wind warnings for the east. We have winter storm warnings along the west coast, and then snowfall warnings for the northern peninsula up through portions of Labrador as well. If we take a look at the current winds so far today, we're already seeing gusts close to 96 or at 96 kilometers per hour for Bonavista. We can expect those winds to continue tonight and through most of tomorrow, but I'll have all those details coming up.
Well, we first brought you the series Stopping Domestic Violence earlier this year. There was one story in that series that we wanted to tell you, but we couldn't until now.
Yeah, that's right. 3 women say they were abused by their former boyfriend, Kevin Evans from St. John's. Now, he admitted his guilt in 2 of those cases and is preparing to head to trial in Ontario for the 3rd one, in which he has pleaded not guilty.
Now, that 3rd woman's identity was covered by a publication ban, but she wanted to tell her story, so CBC went to court to get the ban lifted so she could do just that.
Now, Evans fought against it, but a judge did side with the CBC, so now we can actually tell you the story of 3 women who say they unknowingly lived similar horror stories.
And first, a warning to our viewers. This story contains graphic descriptions of intimate partner violence. The details will be upsetting for some of you and are not suitable for all viewers. Here Now's Ariana Kelland has this special report.
Hurts to swallow. I just left the hospital, told them I had sore throat.
That first week, I had been choked I don't know how many times, hit how many times.
So it takes 20 charges and 3 women to keep a guy in prison before the trial, which is just mind-numbing. He killed the woman I was before I met him. He broke the girl I was when I was with him.
Jessica Donald likes putting pen to paper, detailing emotions she felt in the midst of what she says was an abusive relationship that began 3 years ago.
But I put myself back together, stronger than before.
Donald took pictures too during her relationship with Kevin Evans. Bruised eyes, a swollen nose, patches of missing hair.
I took pictures of the bruises after, because I was like, this happened, and he's going to try to convince me it wasn't that bad, and he's going to try to convince me it didn't happen. And I never thought of it as evidence. I never thought of it as anything I would ever even show anybody. I wanted it for me.
But these photos could be shown during Evans' upcoming trial for physically and sexually abusing Donald in 2017 and 18. There are a dozen charges in all. Donald was the first of 3 women to report him to police, but will be the last of them to go through the court system. It all started in 2017. Donald and Evans connected on the dating app Bumble while he was living in Donald's home province of Ontario.
I'm thinking, like, wow, this guy is so open and honest. Like, it blows my mind now because he is the most dishonest person I've ever met in my life.
Dishonest, and that's not all, according to Donald. She says she soon faced constant jealousy. Accusations of infidelity flew fast, and allegedly so did his hands. Donald estimates she was choked around 20 to 30 times.
Like, he has blue eyes and they went black. And it's just, I don't know who this person is. And they're choking me. And they do it, and then he stops, and I get a breath, and then he does it again, and again, and again, and again.
With every choking came a promise to change, she says, but those promises were never kept. Donald says if she didn't obey him, she paid the price. There were trips to the hospital, but Donald says she never disclosed how she got hurt.
I had to believe that he wasn't a monster because I'm not the type of person that would date a monster.
All this at the same time that Evans was seeing another woman, Lindsay Plank.
Looks like a happy couple, and then it isn't. Yeah, and that's why I have a big sweater on. It was also to try and hide as much as I could. As you zoom in, you can see the marks on my neck and on my chest. This was also in August, another night out where he had punched me right in the eye. I had a black eye for about 4 or 5 days. This one wasn't as bad.
The two met on a dating app in Ontario, and Plank says Evans told her everything she wanted to hear. By the third date, she says, things turned nasty. But the couple moved to Newfoundland in the latter half of 2018. Now separated from her friends and family, things only got worse. The violence became more severe. The emotional abuse was stifling.
He took me into the bathroom and smashed my head against the bathtub, ripped my hair out. The amount of times I would wake up and he'd have the knife set sitting beside the bed, or choking me and just blacking out. And at that point you just kind of start thinking maybe it's easier just for him to do it, because it's better than living through this.
New co-workers began to notice signs of abuse. Plank eventually confided in them, giving her the push to leave him for good. But it wasn't until a Facebook message around Christmas that year that helped Plank come forward to police. Donald messaged Plank and shared her story of being with Evans.
Literally, word for word, we lived the exact same life.
Donald went to Halton Regional Police, Plank to the RNC. They reported the abuse so it wouldn't happen to anyone else. Evans was now charged in 2 separate provinces for abusing 2 different women, but was out on bail and free to date whomever he wanted. Enter Ashley McVean. She knew Evans growing up, trusted him.
See, when I first met Kevin, I never knew anything about these other girls. There was no talk about it, it was like, I have a jealous ex-girlfriend.
The first time he choked her was on the evening of her birthday celebration. It only progressed from there. It was her routine. McVean says she knew she'd get beaten, she was prepared for it, and she would fight back.
My windpipe is like broken.
The scariest part of it for me was the choking. It was the strangulation. The last day he beat me, he said, I can snap your neck, I can take your life. He was choking me so hard. He was choking me from behind. He was choking me from front on, and I couldn't even say the words, but I just said, do it.
But one day the choking was too severe to ignore. Evans put a knee to her neck and she felt a pop. McVean told doctors she had a sore throat, but this evidence, red and purple broken blood vessels, were a dead giveaway to the doctor. And by August 2019, she made the decision to go to police.
I had no choice, I had to stop him.
On January 30th, 2020, Evans pleaded guilty to assaulting both Plank and McVean. A plea agreement had been reached. Some charges would be dropped in exchange for his admission of guilt, a routine procedure in Canadian courts. He was given 253 days behind bars, but with credit for time served in jail after being arrested for assaulting McVean, he was released that very day.
I was ready and willing to go to trial. I think, even without my own testimony, I think the evidence would have spoke in itself. I think a judge reading words, he's not getting the actual picture of what occurred and the trauma and the abuse that us as women suffered at the hands of Kevin.
At his January sentencing hearing in St. John's for assaulting McVean and Plank, Evans, through his lawyer, expressed regret. Mr. Evans advises that he does feel very badly for what has happened and apologizes for his behavior. Meanwhile, Evans is set for trial in Ontario next June in relation to charges involving Jessica Donald. In an email to CBC News, his Ontario defense lawyer, Evan Chang, stressed that Evans is presumed innocent and is vigorously defending against the charges. Chang said it would not be appropriate during this pending case for myself nor my client to give any comment on your story. All three women say they lost themselves during their harrowing relationships, but have come out stronger because of it. As Donald prepares to face Evans at trial, she's come to realize things about herself and about her former partner.
I think of him as a monster because human beings don't behave the way he did. Human beings don't do that.
Ariana Kelland, CBC News, Burlington.
And as you heard, Jessica Donald's allegations against Kevin Evans have not been proven in court, and his trial in Ontario is scheduled to begin the second week of June in 2021. CBC News will follow this case to its conclusion as it makes its way through the courts. And you can read stories from across the country at cbc.ca/stoppingdomesticviolence. We've also listed resources on that website. If you need help and you're in immediate danger, of course, call 911. To find assistance in your area, visit sheltersafe.ca or endingviolencecanada.org.
Well, to other story now. A cluster of towns in the Conception Bay area have joined forces to improve their spending power. And they include Colliers, Conception Harbour, Avondale, and Harbour Main, Chapels Cove, Lakeview. They have all signed an agreement to work together over the next 2 years to try to regionalize some services. Cease Hare reports.
4 towns in Conception Bay Centre. They each have different histories, but the same issue: difficulty balancing the books. The towns just finished their budgets for the new year, and they're ready to find ways to reduce operating expenses. The mayor's hope a new 2-year MOU will help.
Well, that's what we're looking for, is just to save our residents money, be able to keep the taxes as they are. Ourselves and Colliers are still a poll tax-based system. We're not looking to change that. You know, we're just looking to get better bang for our buck.
In supplies and services, whether it be sand and salt in the winter, asphalt for paving in the summer, garbage and recycling services. You know, the more you buy, the cheaper that would be if it's shared between 4 towns.
This isn't amalgamation. The mayors are quite clear about that. They're not changing tax structures or raising taxes. Saving money is the main goal. By pooling together, the towns feel they'll be able to find more federal and provincial funding.
In the past, we've competed against each other for grants. Now this can be done in a more strategic manner to support each other in acquiring grants and resources and looking how we can provide services better to our residents.
On the immediate wish list, regional water, more development, marketing walking trails, and establishing a regional firefighting training center.
We have the land already in place, and joint training would be a great team. Right now, Harbour Main got their training one night, Avondale got theirs, and so on. And by doing this, we can have a cost shared among all towns.
The regionalization pilot project is also non-binding. At any point, the towns can opt out, or they can opt in or out of any planned course of action. Cease Hare, CBC News, Harbour Main, Chapels Cove, Lakeview.
Well, today the provincial government announced its plan to help foster tech sector talent with a pilot project in 8 high schools. The Technology Career Pathways program will partner with the College of the North Atlantic and the Newfoundland and Labrador English School District next year. Here now's Jeremy Eaton has more.
We are coming together today to announce a partnership to cultivate homegrown talent.
The virtual announcement comes on the heels of the massive sale of Verafin to NASDAQ, which netted the local company $2.75 billion.
Our provincial technology and innovation industry is ready to take the next step on a global stage.
But there's a small problem with that. Only a small portion of homegrown talent are working in this province. TechNL says only 10 to 15% of the tech sector needs are filled by locals.
There's a real talent gap here in the province. As mentioned, the size of the industry now is nearing $2 billion, and we think that it's going to double in size in the next 5-6 years.
Enter the Technology Career Pathways program. The pilot project will land in 8 schools across the province for the next school year. The schools have yet to be selected, but all 4 regions of the province will be represented. The goal is to get high school students ready for a growing industry expected to expand further by exposing them to computer programming at a young age and offer hands-on experience, which, as these folks hope, turn into jobs.
Careers like cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, IT infrastructure, and web development.
Students who choose to take part will begin coursework in grade 10 and then transition into post-secondary courses for grade 11 and grade 12 using the computer program Python. Instructors for this haven't been identified, but that's where CNA comes in.
So the teachers that are selected are actually going to partake in a 45-hour of instructional programming from our instructors here at the college.
Another benefit touted here today is that when students finish, they can find a work term in the tech sector, getting hands-on training to add on to what they've already learned in the classroom.
So Newfoundland punches above its weight in the tech sector, and we're going to continue to with initiatives like this and ensuring that we've got the best people and we can compete anywhere in the world.
The government can't say exactly how much this program is going to cost at this time, but that when it gets rolling, it could see as many as 200 students taking part. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the city of Mount Pearl is releasing its budget tonight, but to balance it, it had to lay off some staff and make operational changes to save $2.5 million. Now, the city says 4 positions are being eliminated, including management positions that are already vacant. It's also implementing a wage freeze for managers for 2021 and banning any work-related travel for the year. The city is also cutting back on some services. It's reducing the hours for recreational and aquatic facilities. It'll spend less money on landscaping work. It's also scaling back on seasonal road work as well as parks and water works, and will now only provide 1 free bulk garbage pickup a year.
Well, St. John's municipal politician Dave Lane has stepped down. He resigned from council because he moved to Torbay. Now, during his final meeting last night, he wanted to address the city's controversial bike plan one final time. Lane says he wants to correct the impression that the city wants to destroy walking trails.
Council will not destroy our existing public amenities. Our intent with the bike plan is simply, and has always been, to enable more people to lead active, healthy lives. And while the delay has been excruciating, our upcoming public engagement process is the opportunity to come together as a community to explore what's possible. We will discuss our options for trail routes and surface types, discover what the obstacles are we have to work around, and agree what are the no-go ideas, and maybe have some aha moments too.
Welcome back. Well, when the pandemic canceled sporting events this year, Royal St. John's Regatta record holder Alyssa Devereaux set her sights on something different. She decided to be the first woman to run more than 100 kilometers on the East Coast Trail in one go.
Wow. We're picking out moments like that, some of the good of 2020, to show that positivity still managed to happen despite the pandemic, and we're calling it the bright side.
So I just set my sights on that goal as just something different to do, just to keep myself busy during the year. And I heard that this East Coast Trail North section had never been ran in one go by a female. So 105 kilometers was overwhelming when I looked at it as a whole. Trying to just stay in the moment and just stay in the section I was on and just focusing on finishing each section made it a lot more exciting and easier to kind of chip away at rather than thinking of the big 105K. It was definitely mentally tough, but somehow I was able to just push past the pain and really enjoy the moment and be appreciative that I could do this with COVID going on in the world everywhere, and that I had people with me all day supporting me and feeding me and running with me. But I was really happy to do 100K in 23 hours, like below the 24-hour mark. That was exciting. But to get to the 105 took me 25. So yeah, it was quite a long 5K at the end. Yeah, I physically ran it and smashed it, but it was a team effort. So I really can't believe I did it, but I did. So yeah, it's exciting. Even though 105K might seem really out there for some people, I just don't think anyone should set boundaries for themselves, because I really think your body can do amazing things if you just give yourself the time.
What a great accomplishment. Thanks to Heather Gillis for putting that together.
Yeah, and we'll have more bright side moments to share with you as we lead up to the new year.
Yeah, so I can't say I'm really forecasting any running weather over the next couple
No,
of days.
it's a bit slippery out there right now.
Just a little bit slippery, and that's pretty much the story as we head through the night tonight. Let's take a look at those temperatures right now, down to 1 degree in St. John's, and then we've got temperatures well below zero through Corner Brook, -3, -5 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Churchill Falls right now sitting at -17. The other thing to note out there, we saw a little bit of a break in the wind this morning, but they've ramped right back up again. Current winds gusting upwards of 74 kilometers per hour in St. John's, Bonavista 96, and Stephenville right now you're seeing gusts near 65 kilometers per hour. That is going to continue, even ramp up even more as we head through the night tonight, with widespread areas certainly in the east seeing gusts upwards of 100, maybe even 100 plus kilometers per hour, and then down along the Port aux Basques, Channel Port aux Basques area. And the Port-au-Port Peninsula, you're going to see some strong winds as we head through the overnight tonight. That is generally going to be the story as we head through to tomorrow afternoon. You can still see gusts anywhere from 70 to 90 kilometers per hour. Those exposed areas likely seeing 100 kilometers per hour as well. And then as we head into Thursday, we're finally going to see those winds ease below warning criteria, and certainly through the afternoon back down to 15 to 30 or 40 kilometer per hour winds. So that's good news there. But before we get there, number of warnings in place, winter storm warnings along the west coast thanks to that wind and snow, and then wind warnings in eastern areas with snowfall warnings for the northern peninsula and southeastern portions of Labrador. Let's take a look at the future tracker. About 15 centimeters of snow fell for Gander earlier today. We're going to see all of that snow continue in that onshore flow, heavy at times tonight along the west coast. Combine that with these strong winds, we'll see blowing snow through most of the night, and then we've got all of that snow for Labrador as well, and that will continue into the early morning hours. So this takes us through to Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. A good 10 to 15 centimeters certainly possible further inland, and in those higher elevations you may see even more, and then that's the story for Labrador as well. If I keep that going through Thursday morning, you can see additional accumulation expected. Some areas at least could see anywhere from 30, maybe even 50 centimeters of snow before that's all said and done. So certainly lots of snow on the way over a longer period of time, but temperatures tonight are going to drop. So down into the minus single digits, -4 in St. John. So all of that wet pavement will likely get, if you haven't treated it with salt, it'll probably be pretty Pretty slippery tonight. Minus 22 the story in Lab City overnight with winds gusty, so frigid wind chills expected overnight tonight. As we head through the day tomorrow, that snow is going to continue, like I said, along the west coast. We should see some clearing through central and eastern areas of the island. Not a whole lot happening tomorrow other than that wind continuing through the day. And then coastal areas of Labrador, you're going to see the snow as well. Eventually, we'll see things taper off a little bit on Thursday. Here's where you'll be sitting temperature-wise tomorrow. Minus 3 for St. John's. Again, those winds upwards of 100 kilometers per hour. Up through Labrador, the snow will continue for a lot of the big land. But ridge of high pressure moving in means Lab City is going to see sunshine, but also temperatures in the minus 20s through the day. So wind chill values through the afternoon. Take a look at that. Feeling more like minus 36 in Lab City. Temperature, wind chills pretty cold as well through most of the island. This takes us to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday tomorrow. So if you are planning on heading out, make sure you bundle up as you head out the door, and then wind chills will drop a little bit as we head into the evening hours as well. Thursday, like I said, things will quiet down. Still looking at the potential for a few flurries. Temperatures still sitting around 0 or just below for most of the island, and then another minus 20 degree day for Lab City. And then temperatures will still be around minus 8 for Happy Valley Goose Bay. A little bit warmer as you head towards the coast, but still well below 0. Then we start to see that ridge of high pressure move in, clearing things out for most of the big land. Temperatures back down to the minus double digits, and then hovering around 0 or about 1 degree for most of the island. Gonna watch Saturday's forecast. That's the next chance that we'll see a storm. Right now, it's looking like what is going to happen. There's a low tracking south of us. There's still lots of time to figure that out, but definitely something to keep an eye on over the next couple of days. We could see some accumulating snow with that one, certainly for eastern Newfoundland, potentially even southern Newfoundland as well. For central, you're looking at flurries through Friday and Saturday. Then the sunshine will return as we start to see that ridge of high pressure skirt a little bit further south. That is what is going to play a role in just how far north that low tracks. And then for western Newfoundland at this point, have sunshine in your forecast and minus 2. For eastern Labrador, look, your temperatures dip, but plenty of sunshine Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then maybe a few flurries on tap for you in western Labrador. I wanted to share another beautiful photo of our merry and bright. This just makes me happy looking at all these lights. If you want to share any with the Munn Botanical Facebook page, you can do that there. And if you'd like to share some with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
It almost splits you into two people. It almost takes the person that you were and pushes it down and hides it away, because that person threatens the drug-addicted person.
The duality of drug addiction. That conversation is next. Welcome back. Well, journalists are supposed to check our biases, and we don't like to admit it when we're wrong. But like you, and let's be honest, we all have a tendency to judge people by their appearance, especially by how they look. And that can prevent us from meeting articulate, thoughtful people. So tonight, and for the next 2 nights, Here Now invites you to keep an open mind as we take a deep look into the local drug scene. So put away your preconceptions of what you think people who use cocaine or heroin might be like, and watch our story about 2 brothers who care about each other. We've covered many stories on Here and Now about problems with addiction in our province, often relying on doctors and experts and social workers, sometimes politicians. Well, tonight we're going to talk to some people who were directly affected by problems with addiction. I'm going to start our coverage with Mitch Ganny. So Mitch, you wrote a letter to local politicians. What was the point of that?
The point of my letter was to bring attention to the drug problem in Newfoundland and change the way that mental health disorders are viewed by doctors, politicians, and the general public. The person who really sparked your interest in doing this was your brother Gary,
Yes.
right? So tell us about Gary. My brother Gary is I like to say was an opiate addict who over the course of many years of his life ended up with a very, very serious addiction, and it led to his overdose. And my perspective on how his life could have been different, how our lives could be different, and how people could be treated better and this problem could be solved.
What kind of trouble did Gary get into once he developed this habit?
My brother was a thief, and I say thief very specifically. He wasn't the type of person who would go into a store with a weapon and hold up a store. He would, go into a liquor store and fill his pockets with as many bottles as he could to take and sell and take the money and buy drugs. It's a story that a lot of people here, a lot of people are going through.
I've read your letter, and what you're just saying to me, your letter also talks about what a wonderful guy your brother was.
He is.
So how is this thief also a wonderful person?
It's a hard thing to wrap your head around, isn't it? The thing about the drug-addicted mind, it almost splits you into 2 people. It almost takes the person that you were and pushes it down and hides it away, because that person threatens the drug-addicted person. And that's the biggest thing that we're fighting right now, is that stigma. Is because you broke the law, you're automatically a bad person and less deserving of care and less deserving of respect. If you take a drug-addicted person and you put them into the penitentiary and you just put them through the same system that everybody else goes through, they don't get the mental health support they need to change the way their minds work, because that's the root of the issue here.
But with respect to the help that was available to Gary, I mean, we hear about, there's this group, there's this department within government, there are all these so-called supports. Was there help for Gary?
To say that there wasn't help would be a lie. There are things out there for people to avail of, but it's not enough. Harm reduction is only going to take us so far. Putting people in prison is only going to take us so far.
In Gary's case, he started smoking dope as a kid, right?
Yes.
How young was he?
10, 11 years old.
Right. And how did he progress to other drugs?
Naturally, I would say. I think.
And by that, what do you mean?
They say that they used to tell us that marijuana was a gateway drug.
But in his case, what other drugs did he turn to?
Everything. Cocaine, ecstasy, a lot of ecstasy, psychedelics for
Meth?
a long time. No.
No meth?
No meth. If you ask Gary, has he done this? The answer is probably yes, but he had his things that he leaned towards, which is usually the party drugs, the psychedelics, the cocaine, the ecstasy, LSD, stuff like that, up until he was prescribed opiates, and that changed the game.
Well, what happened?
He went from being fun-loving and doing these things for the rush and the fun to having to do it. It went from, yeah, I'd like to do that, to I need this.
Something very serious, and this is before COVID, something very serious happened in your home. So
yes.
Give me the lead up to the events of this night that you write about in your letter.
My brother was out of jail and he had nowhere to go, so I brought him to my place and I gave him a place to stay in my house.
Why would you do that? Seeing, you know, he was a thief and you knew he was an addict. Why did you do that?
There's an old saying, I am my brother's keeper and he is mine. He's my brother. I knew he was still doing drugs, but I didn't know the extent, really. And so one night, we are at my place, we are sitting on my couch, we're playing video games. Everything's good. Then he gets up and he goes to the bathroom. And 5 minutes pass by, 10 minutes pass by. My fiance gets up and goes upstairs to check on him, knocks on the bathroom door, and there's no answer. And she hears a gurgling type sound. And she called me up, said there was no answer at the bathroom door. So I go upstairs. I knock on the door, there's no answer. I try to open the door, and I can't get it open, it's locked. So I started to beg, saying, you know, please, please open the door. Like, don't do this. Come on now, open the door. I didn't know it was as far as it was. After probably 30 seconds of not getting an answer, I kicked open the door, and he was sitting on the toilet. He had a syringe with the cap on it placed on the back of the toilet. He had a piece of rubber wrapped around his arm, and he was pale, not responsive, sitting up but falling forward. I said, no, 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 grabbed him, pulled him out of the bathroom into the hallway, watched him as he stopped breathing. He started to change color. He went from pale to yellow to pink to purple to green to gray. He changed so many different colors. And my roommate, Shannon, who is a hero, he had the presence of mind to do CPR. And I'm holding Gary, and my fiance Morgan comes up the stairs. So I yelled at her, call an ambulance now. And then we sat there and waited until finally I see the lights, and I hear this ambulance pull up, and the first responder went upstairs. Gary was laying in the hallway still. She had to stop Shannon from working on him. Shannon is a hero. And then she hit him with a naloxone shot, and Gary woke up.
When Gary came back to life in that moment, what happened then?
He was very confused when the ambulance driver explained what had happened. He was shocked. He couldn't believe it. They brought him to the hospital, and after a couple of hours of me calming down, I went over and visited him.
Is this the episode that got you, so worked up that you wanted to do something to help people in Gary's situation?
Yes, 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 and no. This is the spark, but it's not just all about us. It's not all about what happened to me and what happened to my brother. It's about what happens out there every day. My brother survived. He woke up. Lots of people don't wake up. And every day there are people out there suffering with addiction, committing nonviolent crimes, and are being arrested and put through this system that treats them like career criminals, that treats them as criminals. The more we subject people to that sort of lifestyle and that sort of incarceration rather than reform, the more people we're going to have in my brother's situation, because they don't have any other options. We don't have a rehabilitation center here. And that is my real goal with all of this. I'm only one person. I'm not a part of an organization or some advocacy group. The only reason I sent my letter was to start a conversation with the people who make the decisions.
Well, Mitch just told us that Gary was one of the lucky ones, and Gary joins us now. So on that night, Gary, what kind of high were you seeking?
I had gone out looking for cocaine, but I ended up getting what I was told was heroin, and ended up being fentanyl.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Gary, we're going to have part 2, Gary's story, tomorrow night on Here and Now. Don't miss it. Right, time to put a smile on your face. Just as Here and Now was starting this evening, the town of Paradise announced a winner of its Christmas card contest. And there were hundreds of great drawings to choose from. And the winner is 10-year-old Andy Walker. He's in grade 5 at Paradise Elementary. And I caught up with the aspiring artist just a bit earlier. So Andy, tell me where you got the inspiration for this.
Well, I got the inspiration for this drawing kind of like the Grinch, because of 2020 and how it tried to take like the whole year and try to like ruin it, like because of COVID-19 and everything. Just like how the Grinch tried to steal Christmas from all the Who's in Whoville. And I just thought, but they all worked together at the end and everything came out fine, just like how it happened to COVID-19, everything worked out.
And like the Who's, like your kids in your drawing, they're all gathered around the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So who are those kids?
They're just kids.
From your imagination?
Yeah, kind of.
Now, I notice on the tree, you're kind of showing off as an artist. There's kind of like a special glimmer on the tree. What is that?
I put glitter on the tree to make it kind of like look really nice and try to make everyone feel happy and stuff.
And the motto is, Paradise kids are strong.
Christmas must go on.
Is that a rhyme you came up with?
Yeah.
So what do you like about doing art?
I like doing art because it's really fun, it's relaxing, and like it's kind of like, it's hard to explain, but it's just really fun, and it helps you like concentrate and just have fun.
Gives you a little bit of calm during the pandemic too?
Yeah, it just makes you have a lot of fun, just feel calm.
Lots of kids submitted drawings for this Christmas card in the town of Paradise. Yours was selected as the winner. You're smiling a lot, you know that? How did it feel when you found out you won?
I felt really happy.
Well, listen, congratulations. I'm really happy for you. And one last
you.
question. Did you draw that shirt you're wearing?
No.
Oh, okay. It's a nice shirt.
Thank you.
All right, well, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you also.
Earlier in the show, Peter Callan showed us COVID-19 vaccines arriving here in this province. We're learning thousands of doses from the second vaccine, the second vaccine candidate are getting ready to be shipped. David Cochran has more on the planned national rollout.
More needles in more arms in more places. These in Ottawa, prompting a visit from the Prime Minister.
Yeah, it is emotional. It's the beginning of the end.
All the doses so far come from the first Pfizer shipments, but now an agreement to get more early doses from another company.
Canada is now contracted to receive up to 168,000 doses of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine before the end of December, pending Health Canada approval.
That could be as soon as next week. Shipments would start within 48 hours of approval. A key benefit, the Moderna vaccine is easier to ship and store than Pfizer's.
So doses of this vaccine will be directed to the north, as well as to remote and Indigenous communities.
The planning of it is well underway. This week, we're executing a dry run exercise as similar to what we did last week with Pfizer product.
As Moderna rolls out, Pfizer ramps up. More doses coming, more places to get shots.
Next week, we will receive about 200,000 of our total early doses from Pfizer. As well, we will have 70 sites ready to administer these doses, up from 14 sites this week.
Each person needs 2 doses, so if everything goes as planned, there should be enough early doses to vaccinate about 200,000 people. The target is 3 million by the end of March, and everyone who wants a vaccine by the end of next year. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, we leave you tonight, like we did last night, with some beautiful music.
Yeah, the winners of CBC's Music Class Challenge were announced today.
Yes, the chamber choir at Holy Heart of Mary High School, this is backwards there, in St. John's, won the auditioned music class category, which comes with $1,000 for their music program.
Yeah, here they are with their winning entry, Sing You Home.